All right. Well, I think this is working. I think we're live. Just bear with me a second because this is my first YouTube live. Let's just get the camera set up there. That looks pretty good. But hello and welcome, flying friends, to yes, like I say, my very first YouTube live video on this channel. What I wanted to do is I still want to stick to the same fly day facts that you're used to here on a Friday. Every Friday, if you're new to the channel, what I do is I publish a new aviation and travel video, which is a kind of a bit of an insight into the background of becoming a pilot, learning how to fly, but also from a traveler's perspective. So the places you can go, things you can see, the great destinations you can go to when you're a pilot or just a traveler. And today's no different, except the only difference is, first of all, I don't have access to anything editing wise. So anything stupid I say, you're going to see live. And also I have no access to graphics. So if you bear with me, I have produced my own amazing graphics for this live presentation. So as usual, let's start off with the Fly Day Facts logo. So I'd normally say, hello flying friends, welcome to, yeah, okay, it's going to be kind of that level of quality. So if you just bear with me, I was up last night making some of these graphics. We'll see if I use the rest of them. Anyway, now you're not here to listen to me babbling on about my YouTube live newness. You want to hear about learning to fly aircraft like this, which of course is the Cirrus SR20. Now this is Tango Delta Sierra. The Cirrus SR20 that I fly in Moorabbin Airport, the one that I've been flying around several times over the last year and producing videos for you guys. And first of all, I obviously want to say to everyone who's listening, hello, James. Nice to hear from you. Oh, I should say as well that you can post comments through YouTube Live. You can post comments on this video if you want to. So if you've got a question as I'm going along, then maybe stick your question in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. If you just want to reach out and say hi, then say hi as well. Evan, I saw your note. Nice to hear from you through YouTube Live. Thanks for joining us. Jackie's on board as well. Hi, Jackie. But yeah, so post a question if you've got one in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through. I've basically broken it down into 3 steps. Hey, Julius, thanks for tuning in from Germany. That's where I was born. So yeah, hey, hometown. Maybe I have to do the comments afterwards. R2 Robot Shane, thanks. Hello to you guys as well. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Okay, so I've broken it down into 3 steps. And the first one is, if you're looking to fly a Cirrus, I really want you to answer this first question. And the first question with this expensive graphic is, why? Now, why do you want to fly a Cirrus? And I think this is really important, first of all, before you go ahead, because as with any part of aviation, it's not cheap. As we all know, we could have picked cheaper hobbies as guys and girls out there, but we didn't. We decided to go with aviation. And flying a Cirrus also, it's up there. It's going to cost you with the hours and the fuel. So you need to be sure that you're flying the right aircraft. What I decided, and the reasons why I wanted to fly a Cirrus, Evan suggests why fly Cirrus, because they're awesome. I don't disagree with that. They are, and we'll get to how awesome they are shortly, but you've got to look at your requirements as a pilot. I think this is the key thing. So what are your objectives with the aircraft? Now, let me give you an example. You may be wanting to learn to fly because you want to be an airline pilot, for example. So your objective as an airline pilot in your flight training is probably to start to build up hours. And if you want to build up hours, it may not be the best solution to build up those hours in quite a high cost per hour aircraft. So you're better off looking at a flying school who might be able to rent you something like a Cessna 152, 172, Piper Warrior, an Archer, those sorts of typically classic training aircraft, which may not have the performance statistics of something like this, but they are going to have the ability to get you over longer distances and build up those hours for less money. So if that's your requirements, then maybe it's not the aircraft for you. You may be into stuff like aerobatics, and I've done some aerobatics flying in the past. It's awesome fun. If that's where you want to go, then obviously you need to find that aircraft that meets those requirements. But for me, my job requirements from the aircraft were, as you know, I love traveling. I love seeing new places, and I wanted something that was comfortable, something that I could tour around in, something which had good endurance, good performance, could get me long distances without having to refuel constantly. And that's why I ended up with Cirrus as the aircraft type. Now, I was also at the point where, a little bit of background, I was in the middle of my instrument rating training when I was flying the Piper Archers. I was flying an Archer with retractable gear. But halfway through that, I did think, well, this is a good aircraft, but it's not quite what I'm after. And that's when I was introduced to the Cirrus. So because I knew I was going to be finishing my instrument rating soon, the Cirrus aircraft with the automation and the avionics on board is an excellent IFR aircraft as well. So that met my requirements. And then the final point as well, I mean, you can do this with me, guys. So let's count the number of engines that we have on the Cirrus aircraft. Okay, so there's one. Yeah, that's it. So it's a single engine aircraft. There's no redundancy in terms of the power plant on the aircraft. So if that thing goes, you're a glider. And as we all know, we're all taught to do practice force landings. We're all taught to look for fields, as I hope you do when you're flying, always looking out, making sure you're finding a place where you can put the aircraft down if you need to. But this, with the CAPS parachute system, just gives me that additional level of security and safety, knowing that it's there if I need it in the event of an engine failure. And that's why. So those reasons were the reasons why I chose the Cirrus. It's probably the only aircraft that I'll ever comfortably fly night VFR. It's probably the only single engine, I should say. It's only the single engine aircraft, the only one that I probably comfortably fly over water as well. And that's really for those reasons. And I know it's controversial, and I know a lot of people are like, no, parachute's rubbish, just learn how to land it. But that's my requirements. And like I say, find the aircraft that's right for you. So that's why I chose Cirrus. Okay, expensive graphic number 2. If you are going to then fly, and this one's got, I drew a plane on this as well. If you are going to fly a Cirrus, then which one should you fly? And this is actually relatively simple because unlike other manufacturers, there's obviously 2 types. There's the SR20, which we're flying here, and the SR22. Now, there's of course differences between the 2, but the nice thing is the basic body shape, the basic operation, the side stick, there's some performance differences, but the basics of the aircraft are pretty similar. So it's relatively easy to go between the 2. I think the key thing that you should be deciding is, first of all, cost. So if you're just learning, if you're starting out, I'd suggest stick with the SR20. It's going to be lower cost to get yourself into the Cirrus world. But I'd also suggest look at the avionics. So you've got really 2 options with the avionics, with the glass cockpit. You've got the Avidyne suite, which if you've seen the videos in Tango Delta Sierra, that's what we fly, the Avidyne suite, and what's called the Cirrus Perspective, which is basically, if you've ever flown a Garmin G1000, it's based on that. And as we know, the Cirrus Perspective is different, but it's very similar to the Garmin G1000. Now, if you're just starting out, if you've never flown a glass cockpit before, I would recommend go with the Avidyne, because the Avidyne system is basically, in a nutshell, it's got less buttons, right? So it's a lot simpler. There are less things in front of you to look at when you need to do something. And generally, whatever flying you're doing kind of 5 things 80% of the time, and 20 other things 20% of the time. So those 5 things, those things like selecting an altitude, selecting a heading, tuning in frequencies on your radio, those sorts of things, they need to be clear and in front of you and easy to get to. And the Avidyne, it's basically buttons. They're right there for you. So like I say, no experience with glass cockpits, probably start with the Avidyne, and then you can move up to the Perspective afterwards if you need to. That's certainly the way that Cirrus are going. So if you're looking for long-term with Cirrus, then it's probably worth learning the Perspective. But otherwise, start with the Avidyne, move yourself up. That's what I'd suggest. Now, what are the other questions? We've got this one. So the big one is then, so what's the training process? What process do you actually need to go through if you are learning to fly a Cirrus? And I've been asked this question a lot. I've been asked, how do you find an instructor? Where do you do your training? What's the training process? So let me just touch on those really quickly. The first thing you're going to need to do for the training process is find what's called a CSIP, a CSIP, and that's a Cirrus Standardized Instructor Pilot. Now I've got a couple of websites I'll give you right at the end of this in a couple of minutes, which you can go. One of them's a great locator on the Cirrus website to find a CSIP, but you're going to need to find one of those. So you can't just jump into a Cirrus with any kind of regular instructor. They need to have gone through the Cirrus standardization program first of all. Now what I did is my training was 4 sessions. There was a ground session, which was just basic info on the aircraft and some of the safety features. The second one was a training area familiarization. So all you Moorabbin pilots out there, I know there's a lot of you who watch this channel. The training area familiarization was out of Moorabbin over the training area, where we did things like basic stalling, forced landing practice, situations where you'd use the CAPS parachute system and when you wouldn't, autopilot stalls, those kind of things. The third lesson was then a lesson on circuits, where we actually flew down to Taiab and did some circuits. And then the final one was a navigation flight, where we did a IFR nav in that case, which was actually out from Moorabbin over to Ballarat, did some circuits at Ballarat and came back home again, IFR by the RNAV. So 4 lessons was all it took to do the transition. I flew Archers and Warriors before, and 4 lessons to get into this Cirrus. I had a couple of hi to Gemini Jets. I know you're a big supporter of the channel, so thanks for tuning in, and Pocket Rocket One as well. Thanks to you guys. I had a question just on hourly rate. So this comes up a lot that, Cirrus are expensive, can't fly, it's outside of my price bracket. So what I pay, just so you know, and I think this might be surprising to a lot of people, on dry rates, so this is without fuel, I pay for my fuel on top myself, so I can choose where I fill up the aircraft. Dry rates for the Cirrus I hire through Blue Demon in Moorabbin, this is $240, excluding GST per hour. And I know a lot of you guys who fly your 172s, some 172s with your glass cockpits, maybe even slightly high performance aircrafts, that's pretty comparable. So it's not a huge step up to get into the base entry level aircraft. If you obviously want to start going up into some of the more advanced Cirrus, like the turbos, the ones with oxygen, turbocharged, perspective suites, you're going to start paying higher rates than that. But the entry level Cirrus is a smaller step up from probably where some of you guys are at the moment. So not completely out of reach, I think. Now, just finally, I want to leave you with a couple of websites that you can go to get more information on the Cirrus training process. And these are really good resources if you are interested and you want to find out more. If you're watching this live, you'll just have to maybe open up another browser and write them down. In the replay, I'll put links down below. But first of all, cirruspilots.org is a really good resource if you're interested in finding out more. Cirruspilots.org is that's the COPA, the Cirrus Owners and Pilots Association website. If you become a member of COPA, you can get access to their awesome forums. There are member events that you can go to as well. You can see, I've just got a list here so I don't miss anything out. Oh, social events. Yeah, they did a flyaway to Uluru from Moorabbin this year, which I missed out on sadly, but they're going to do more social events this year out from Moorabbin if you're a member of COPA. There's safety information, documentation. So the COPA website's a really good resource for Cirrus pilots out there. I think it's $60 or $70 membership per year, but you also get discounts on things like your Jefferson subscription, so it really works out quite well worthwhile. Then there's learning.cirrusaircraft.com. Oh, my Cirrus has disappeared. Let's just get her back. There we go. Learning.cirrusaircraft.com. That's the resource where if you do start training on the Cirrus aircraft, you can join with your instructor on that website and you can actually track your progress. It's a really good online resource. Cirrus have done really well in terms of bringing that online and aviation space together to make it easy for you to access resources and track your progress as you're learning through there. And on the same website, so cirrusaircraft.com/locator. Now this is where you need to go if you want to find yourself a CSIP, a Cirrus Standardized Instructor Pilot. So go to cirrusaircraft.com/locator, type in your location, and then you'll be able to find a CSIP in your local area. Get in touch with them, and your first thing to do is just go down, sit down, have a cup of tea with them, chat about the aircraft, jump on board, see how you find it, if it's the right kind of aircraft from you. And if it is, then you can just do a couple of training sessions, and the transition into one of these is actually pretty straightforward. Like I say, it was only 4 lessons in the end for me, so hopefully you can follow a similar path. Now that's it. So I think someone just asked, is this the Concorde behind me? Yes, it is. This is the I think this is GBO, so Bravo Oscar Alpha Alpha, one of the original British Airways Concordes, which I put in the back to give everything an aviation theme. So thanks for noticing that one. I just really wanted to leave you now. Well, first of all, I hope you found that useful. If you've got any other questions, you think of them afterwards, I'm always on Twitter, so you can hit me up on @Steph747, or put some comments to this video if you have follow-on questions, or send me a private message if you want to just do it outside of the social world. I'm very happy to answer your questions about Cirrus and my training as a private pilot. Just for me, and just for the channel in 2018, really quickly, there is a lot planned. I've been quite busy over the Christmas period, planning some flights over the next couple of months. To you guys who've tuned in, just to give you a bit of a kind of exclusive idea of what's happening, we're hopefully going to be hitting up some over water flying over the next couple of months. And obviously we live near Tassie, so there's King Island and Tasmania. Really looking forward to getting down there and doing some over water flying in our single engine aircraft. So I'll go through the procedures for that, the Bass Strait crossing procedures. There's quite a lot that we need to bear in mind compared to flying over land. Doing some international travel as well this is more the travel side of my channel. We're going to be going to some brand new countries for me. I'm hoping to hit up Sri Lanka in the next couple of months. Also going to Singapore and Thailand, And hopefully we're going to get a trip out somewhere near Mali in the Maldives. So I'll be filming all of those commercial flights as well, giving you reviews of the airports and the airport lounges as well. And then yeah, that's then we've got some big trips as well planned. I'm really hoping the key one I'm hoping to do at some point next year is to get right into the middle of Australia, because I had a real taste for flying over outback Australia when we went up to Longreach a couple of months ago. And I'm in the midst of planning a flight with the guys to get ourselves up to Uluru to go to Ayers Rock and do some, well, Uluru, not Ayers Rock as it's called now, and do some sightseeing. So hopefully some low-level sightseeing stuff around Uluru itself, which should be just awesome from a cinematography point of view. So heaps planned. If you've got ideas of where to visit, and equally, if you are at airfields where I can come and visit and come and say hello, if you're a pilot that's running your own channel, or you just want to kind of meet up and say hi, if you want to maybe get a flight in the Cirrus, that kind of thing, then do let me know. I'm always looking for ideas for new places to visit. And I love getting out there and meeting, pilots in my flying community here in Australia too. So reach out to me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm not going to go on. I said I'd keep this to 10 minutes. It's now 15, almost 16 minutes. So I really appreciate you sticking around. Shoot your questions through if you have any more questions. Couple of shout outs to a couple of people. Alex, thank you very much. Alex Davison left me a comment. He says, how often are you at Moorabbin? I try to get there about once a week. Probably not so much at the moment because it's Christmas and I'm kind of putting beer before aviation at the moment. But, about once a week, that kind of thing. I should be down at Moorabbin again Tuesday week. That's when I'll be down next time. Thank you to everyone who liked the video. If you haven't done it yet, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe for all that content in 2018. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you for joining my first YouTube live. I really appreciate it. I'll leave you to your days now. Have a great long weekend, or a great weekend, I should say. And all the best for 2018 as well. I wish you and your families all the best for a happy 2018. And I'll see you online in the new year. Thanks. Catch you soon. Travel safe. Bye.